Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. We're just going to give everyone a few more minutes to log on and we'll get started shortly. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, all right, now we can see each other, great. Hi everyone. So before we get started, I just wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping items. If you don't know us, Taboola is the world's leading discovery platform. We work with both advertisers and publishers globally, and we reach 1.4 billion people a month. If you want to ask us questions during the webinar, you can do so using the questions module in your GoToWebinar screen. And if you want to participate in social media during the webinar at all, we just ask that you use the hashtag #TaboolaTalk so we can see it afterwards. And we'll try to get to any and all questions that you guys have asked us at the end of the webinar. All right.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Rachel Zalta. I head up research and insights for Taboola. My background's actually pretty interesting. So I have an MA in social psychology. My focus is on online behavior and persuasion psychology. And what I do for Taboola is I study online behavior. So I look at what people are clicking on, what kind of videos people like to watch. Are there any differences between countries, between platforms, etc.?
And I'm Megan. I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager here at Taboola. My career started in journalism, but I've been in B2B technology content marketing for almost 7 years now, and I've been with Taboola for 3 of those years.
Cool. So we always like to start with an interesting study. This was a really cool study that was that ran in the United Kingdom in 2015. And here the researchers were trying to answer the question, are people aware of their online behavior? And in order to answer that question, they asked participants how many times do they think they use their phones in one day? And they described using their phones as at least 15 seconds of interacting with their phones. So participants answered, or they estimated, that the amount of times that they used their phones in one day was 37 times in one day. By the way, today, I'm assuming this number would have been much higher. Anyways, when researchers wanted to check if they're aware of their online behavior, so they compared this estimated number and they looked at how many times these participants actually use their phones in one day. And what they found is that it was more than double of what they originally estimated. The second part of the study was actually really cool. So the second part of the study was checking how many times these participants touch their phones in one day. So touching their phones is any kind of touch. If you pick up your phone and you check the time, if you're typing, you're probably touching it a few times. If you're scrolling, you're probably touching your phone a few times as well. So I'm going to ask you guys, how many times do you think we touch our phones in one day?
I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to answer.
You could ignore my desktop.
Five more seconds. Okay, so 40% of people responded 100 to 200 and 38% responded 200 to 500.
Okay, cool. So the answer is actually pretty shocking. And remember that this is true for 2015. So today, the answer might be even higher. So what the researchers found is that people touch their phones an average of 2,617 times in one day. This is a very accurate number. It actually was based on sensors that were on the phone. So this isn't like just a subjective number that people say or the report afterwards. And what this study and a lot of other studies show us is that we aren't aware of our online behavior. And if we really want to succeed in online marketing, we need to start becoming more aware of our online behavior. We need to become aware of how many times we're using our phones, what we're doing on our phones, what our mindset is on different platforms. And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So many times we'll touch our phone and then we might unlock our screen and then we might use our phones, and we'll use it for different reasons. So we'll chat with somebody, we'll search for something, we'll go on social, we'll watch a movie, we'll shop, and for 20% of that time we'll actually be consuming content. So we'll be on publisher sites, we'll be reading different articles, and we'll be scrolling through image galleries and watching videos on these publisher sites as well. So that's the mindset that we're talking about today. That's where native lies.
So 20% of time consuming content is a lot of time, at least from my perspective. It's a huge opportunity for marketers to capitalize on their audiences that are looking to consume content. And when you're looking to create good content always starts with understanding your audience. But I don't mean what we traditionally mean when we say that here. I think a lot of us understand our audiences, right? We have our consumer personas locked down. We know what pain points we're trying to hit. We know the titles we're going after, maybe demographics like gender or location. But are we also taking it a step further and thinking about how users are behaving across each of the platforms that Rachel just mentioned? So whether or not they're on e-commerce sites or social media channels, or they're on the open web, or they're in a search channel, how are they behaving, and how can you look to interact with them most effectively? So the channel that we're here to talk to you guys about today, or the platform, is native advertising. And native advertising is everything that fits the form, feel, and function of the site around it. So native ads cover a huge breadth of different types of content, right? A native ad could be scrolling through your social feed and seeing a social ad, or it could be an ad that pops up in the search results column on a search platform, or it can be the ads at the bottom of an article that users are ready to discover when they've completed a piece of content. And Rachel and I are experts in the latter, the discovery ads that you'll find on the open web, where users are looking to explore something new.
Yeah, and one of the things that's cool about native ads is that they have that same look and feel of the rest of the publisher site. So if you look at, this is actually a recorded eye tracker. So the person here was scrolling through a publisher, and they were looking at the different content. And this is on a loop, so you'll see it start over again right now. But what happens here is that when the content that's recommended feels like feels to us like it's part of the publisher, the person is actually looking at it. There's attention. When we see this banner ad on the side that doesn't feel as if it's part of the publisher, it doesn't feel as if it's similar to or to the rest of the content on the page, that's when people actually pay less attention to that kind of content. And when we think about this mindset, it actually opens up a broader question of online content as in general, or what the different mindsets are. So according to psychological research, there are two main mindsets. One is the intent user, and one is the exploring user. Somebody that's in the intent mindset, they might really, really love avocados, so they'll go on Google and they'll search for the best place to buy avocados. In my case, it would be in Tel Aviv. So they would search for those avocados there, and that's a different mindset than somebody that's online because they're looking for something interesting. They finished reading an article, and then they see another article that's suggested to them about the most delicious avocados in Tel Aviv. It's a different mindset because in the intent mindset, people are actually searching for the brand, and in the explorer mindset, the brand is actually kind of searching for the user, right? The brand has to do more of, or have more of an effort to kind of grab that user's attention because the user isn't searching for them from the beginning.
And in a lot of cases, these users are meeting you and your brand for the first time, right? So if you're exploring, you're more likely to interact with a brand or some sort of product or some type of information that you might not have known you've been interested in, which is a great opportunity, but also means that brands have to do a little bit more work in order to engage these users. Content has to be really entertaining, it's got to be really valuable, and it's got to be really captivating. So I want to walk you guys through some examples and explain what I think makes really great native content and what we've seen working really well on our platform. So there are a couple pillars of what makes really good native content. The first thing is that good native content is always very genuine. And genuine means something really specific. Genuine means reputable, sincerely and honestly felt, and also experienced and true. And we'll go through each of those three things in detail. But secondly, good content is authentic. Authenticity is also something really specific. It means being true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. Or in this case, we're talking about your brand. Good content isn't going to do well on native advertising unless it's on brand for you. So my first example that I want to talk to you guys about is an example of something really reputable. I really personally like SoFi's content, but I didn't always know about them. A couple of years ago, my little cousin, who I'm very close with, was graduating from college, and she was freaking out about paying her student loans after college, like most of us do. And she was looking for information online to help her get her finances in order for the very first time in her life. So she was reading articles about tips for finances for college students looking to enter the real world, and she found this calculator linked in one of those articles. And she stayed on that page, she interacted with that page, and she actually became a SoFi consumer after the fact, probably a couple months down the line, but eventually became a SoFi consumer because she was introduced to their content and had such a great experience. So there's a couple of reasons why this page works so well. One, it's immediately clean, clear, and easy to understand, which is a big part of coming across as reputable, which is mostly a design thing, but it is important to keep in mind that you're not cluttering up the page with unnecessary words, unnecessary images, or content that doesn't need to be there. This page is really clear. There's one headline, estimate your student loan payments. The calculator is really easy to understand. There's just a couple of things she needed to input here to spit back out her estimated student loan payment, and there's a short explanation of what it is she needs to do, and that's it. But then there's a little more to it as well. So just having a clean page isn't everything. Reputable content always explains why conclusions were drawn, right? She doesn't know SoFi. She didn't trust the brand yet, so she needed a little bit more information to know that the estimate she was going to get back was correct. And what SoFi has done here is, as she scrolled a little bit down the page, they explained exactly how they were coming to the conclusions they were drawing, how they were getting her numbers, and also gave her suggestions on how to improve those numbers in the beginning. Extremely reputable, great first experience for a native advertising platform, and it ended up in a consumer at the end. So then the second thing I want to talk about is content that is sincere and honest. This also is a big part of creating something that's genuine and authentic. So this is an ad from a dating app called Bumble, which is famous for allowing women to make the first move. So I'll go ahead and let you guys watch it.
The world tells you to wait, that waiting is polite, and good things will just come. But if I waited to be invited in, I never would have stood out. If I waited for change to happen, I never would have made a difference. So make the first move. Don't wait to be told your place. Take it. Don't wait for people to find you. Find them. In work, in love, in life. And most of all, don't wait to be given power. Because here's what they won't tell you. We already have it.
Wow, Megan, I just got the chills.
So I don't know if you guys felt that that was sincere and honest, but we certainly do. And there are a couple of reasons why. So Bumble did something really traditional there. They worked with a well-known celebrity. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Serena Williams, but for those of you who might not be, she's an international tennis star, and is really well known for being one of the first females to become such an internationally known tennis star. And that's really a part of her brand as well. And they did something really traditional by asking a semi-celebrity to come on and essentially be a spokesperson for them for an ad. But it came across as really sincere and honest for two reasons. One, the message here really supports Bumble's mission. Their mission is to empower women in the dating world. And it also really supports Serena Williams' brand as well. This was a great match. Her brand is consistently promoting women across the globe, powerful women in business and tennis and sports. You know, she doesn't just focus on tennis. She has many other businesses now as well. And it's really supportive of her brand too. And the combination together comes across as extraordinarily sincere, honestly felt. I believe that Serena Williams truly supports the Bumble app after watching this ad and also knowing her and her brand as well. So finally, the third pillar of what we were talking about was experienced and true. Excuse me. So this is an example of a piece of content on a site called Passenger 6A. Passenger 6A is the editorial flagship brand of TUI Group, which is an international travel airline and also travel site where you can book many types of vacations internationally. So what they do on Passenger 6A is many different types of content, but one of my favorites is they run these personal testimonies that are videos and articles that accompany them from people that have been to different destinations. And they're really honest, right? The people talk very clearly about exactly what they experienced in these places, the good and the bad, where not to go, where they had bad food, where they had good food, where they found bed bugs, where they had great hotel experiences, all of the different places. And always, you know, you watch the video and you always want to go there. Like, I would be hard pressed to find someone who read this article and didn't want to go to Bangkok afterwards. It's, you know, it's you believe these people, you believe that they had such a great time, and it's because it's coming from a person. It's a really personal experience that they had. They're being honest, and they're also doing something that supports TUI Group's brand and mission, which is promoting international travel. And then, of course, finally, good native content is clickable. If your native ad doesn't do just as great of a job as the content behind it, then it's off or not.
Yeah, and just to add on that, you can have the best content. So your content can be authentic, it can be personal, it can be trustworthy. But if the ad that's leading to that content isn't going to be trustworthy or isn't going to be authentic, then people aren't going to even get to that content. So we need to really work on being authentic also in the ad that's getting to the content and also in the content itself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the ads. So Megan, I changed this around a little bit since the last time we practiced this. If you saw this ad online, what happened next will shock you. So what would you imagine to see post-click? So there's a woman here drinking a cup of coffee, in case anyone doesn't see it, and she has her purse. She's pretty fashionable.
Yeah, so maybe she spills coffee all over her nice white pants, or someone runs by and grabs her purse. I don't know, something shocking.
Okay, so let's say that's what you imagined, and then you clicked and you saw this. 6 things to consider before opening a credit card. How do you feel?
Betrayed, clickbaited.
Yes, so this is the definition of clickbait, right? And what happens to the user at this point is that they feel betrayed. They start hating the advertiser, hating the publisher, hating the platform. Now, if I asked you, would you scroll down and actually sign up to this credit card deal if you got to the page? Definitely not, right? You would leave right away, you would bounce, and this advertiser will get a lot of clicks, so they'd be paying for a lot of the clicks, but nobody would actually stay on their site or convert. So this is actually bad for everyone, and that's why it's not allowed on Taboola. And as you can imagine, and obviously this is also extremely unauthentic, right? We're not being straightforward, we're not being authentic with our users from the start. So one of the most important things you want to keep in mind from the ad perspective when you're leading to authentic content or really to any content is to make sure to set user expectations. So tell the user where they're going to arrive post-click before they even click. And this is another example. So if you saw these two items online, which one do you think, or which one would you feel like clicking on more? So on the left, we have the real two women of the Sydney law practice that is trying to promote themselves. And on the right, there are two beautiful women from some kind of stock photo picture. And it's the same exact title. So which one do you guys think is going to succeed more? So I'm actually going to run the poll here again.
We're going to give you guys a few seconds to answer. Five more seconds.
Okay, I really need to clean my desktop. Oh. At least it's authentic, right?
It is.
Okay.
So 72% of people said on the left and 28% of people said on the right.
Okay, so 78% of you are right. What we're seeing in native advertising is that more natural looking pictures are actually doing even better than the most beautiful stock photos you can buy. The reason why is because of that user mindset that we started talking about. So imagine somebody is reading an article and they finished reading the article and now they're looking for another interesting piece of content to engage with. They're not looking for an ad. They're looking for some real authentic content. So when you're able to choose real images of the people that are interacting with your product or of your service, that's when it's really going to grab attention and it's going to get more people to engage. So here's another example. What happens when you use text on an image? So what we found here is that images with text actually don't do as well as opposed to images without text. The reason why is because images with text usually feel a little bit more like an ad, right? We want to look less like an ad. We want to look more authentic, more like content. We want to promote a story about our brand instead of just advertising our brand. And here's another example. Here, we're trying to leverage real authentic details about your audience or about your brand in order to get more clicks or more engagement. So one of those strategies is actually calling out your target audience. So when you say something like born between 1980 and 1994, this health insurance policy can save you a lot of cash. Somebody that is born between those years, like me, I'd be like, ooh, interesting. Why do I fit into that category? Like, what is this special health insurance policy that is special for me? Now, of course, this has to be a health insurance policy that is actually geared towards people that are born between those years, right? It has to be real. But when you have a product that is for a specific audience, calling out that audience in your title is going to lead to more success. And then here's another authentic detail that you can use. So this is the number of users that you have, the number of subscribers, the number of people downloading your game. When you use that number in your creative, of course, here it has to be true and authentic as well. So when you use that number, it gets a lot more people interested in your content. The reason why is always based on psychology. So it's called the bandwagon effect. And what it means is that if I was in this room and all the people in this room all started walking towards the right-hand corner, what would happen to me I would start wondering what everybody's doing there. And I'd wonder why everyone's there, and I'd assume that there's something interesting there. So I'd probably walk over and check it out. So that's called the bandwagon effect. And when we feel like so many people are using a service or downloading an app, then we might be interested in that too, just because everybody else is doing it. And that would get us also to click more and also to convert more. And in video, we see authenticity working well too. So in addition to the video, the Bumble video that we just saw, there are a lot of other brands using real authentic videos right now, and I'm really loving it. Brands can use authenticity in their videos by choosing regular people to be in their videos, not like, you know, the most beautiful models. Sometimes when the character in the video or when the person in the video is making a mistake, they choose to leave that mistake in the video instead of cutting it out. They make it feel a little less polished, a little less staged, and a little more authentic. And the psychology behind this is interesting. It actually connects to bloopers and why we love those bloopers in the end of the video, in the end of a movie we watch. The reason why we love the bloopers, where someone is, you know, one of the actors made a mistake and started cracking up, is because according to studies, it actually creates an intimacy and a connection between the viewer and the person in the video. So suddenly you feel like you're cracking up with them. And so people like to feel this closeness. And of course, brands want their audience to feel close to their brand. That's the reason why they're promoting these videos. So that's one of the reasons why authenticity works so well. Now, it's hard to analyze authenticity in videos if we really want to rely on data. One of the ways of doing that, though, which we found interesting, was looking at the video quality. So we looked at videos that were of normal or standard quality and videos that were with extremely high quality. And what we found is that videos with normal quality actually did better than videos with really high quality, which is a little bit counterintuitive, but it connects to the whole idea of authenticity, right? We're assuming that most videos of really high quality probably chose, you know, the most beautiful models to walk through in a very staged way. And the normal quality videos might be a little bit more real and a little bit more authentic. So you can find these trends and more trends on trends.taboola.com. This is a really great resource for advertisers because what this site does is it takes every single one of the items that ran on our network and it analyzes them to see what the best practices are right now in your country, in your platform, in your category, and in your language. So instead of just saying, yeah, people always work well in images, why don't you look at what's working well today in your country and see if it's actually true? One of the cool things there is that you can actually see some of the trends that we spoke about today there. So for example, images without text, if you look at the site now, are getting 29% higher CTR than images with text. And you can see other trends there as well. One of the new tools that we added to the site is called the title analyzer or the title predictive tool. What this tool does, and it took a lot of time to convince our algo team to allow us to really give it to advertisers, but they saw the value in the end. What it does is that advertisers can add more than one title, and then the tool will tell them which one of the titles has a higher predictive CTR based on Taboola's algorithm. So instead of having a campaign and testing 10 different titles, some of them would do really badly and some of them would do really well. What we're doing here is we're like cheating a little bit. We're adding all the titles to this predictive tool. We'll see which ones have the highest predictive CTR and then test those live with a budget in a campaign. So we're really excited about this tool.
So this is personally my favorite tool on the Trend site, mostly because it also helps me inform the content that I create, right? So not just for ad campaigns across different platforms, but headlines that I might be writing for articles or webinars or ebooks or any type of content that we're putting out here at Taboola. I really use this tool all the time. And one of my favorite things to do using it is to debunk popular headline templates across the web. So here are 5 really popular headline templates that I would bet we've all seen in one way, shape, or form at some point online. what this person says about this, any numbered list, specifically number of things when you can't do this, how-to guides, the ultimate guides to, or the secret to something. So I want to ask you guys, which headline template do you think will perform best? Give you guys a few seconds. All right, 5 more seconds. All right, so we were actually pretty split. 25% said the secret to, 22% said how to, 22% said the ultimate guide to, and then 21 and 10 for the other two options.
Okay.
So this is what we actually saw. So the secret to was the top performing headline by far. And I was surprised to see this, but what I was more surprised to see was that how-to headlines were the least effective in terms of driving CTR, because this is something that we see online all the time, how-to guides for every single thing across the board. So it might be worth it to switch up the strategy there a little bit, because people are getting fatigued from headlines, from the same headline templates over and over and over again. Some of the things here, like the numbered lists, we're still landing in the middle. The ultimate guide still lands in the middle. And it does matter the type of content that is also in the headline as well. The other keywords matter too. I have car shopping on the mind because I'm looking for a new car for myself at the moment. So the headlines I wrote here were about car shopping. And it'll probably change a little bit depending on exactly what the headline ends up being. But in general, as I've gone through a bunch of headline templates, I'm consistently debunking how-to headlines across the board. So it's something that I wanted to share with you guys today.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, these trends are always changing. There are a lot of times specific types of headlines that are working well online. And what smart advertisers are doing is they're using those headlines that are trending, but then they're noticing the moment where they're stopping to work well. And one of the ways of figuring out when that moment is by using this and similar tools, right?
Absolutely. All right, so we do want to show you guys a little bit how this would look in particular verticals. And we have 5 verticals that we could share with you guys today. One is travel, we have finance, we have education, we have fashion, and we have beauty. But before we dive in, I wanted to talk a little bit about the funnel, just give like a brief overview, because it's going to inform exactly how we talk about these examples. So this is a pretty basic funnel that I'm sure that everyone is pretty familiar with in one shape or form. So there's 3 levels here: awareness, consideration, and decision. And this funnel is going to look really different depending on what vertical you're from. So for example, if you're a travel brand, or if you're an airline, as we gave the example from passenger 6A before, awareness might look like a site visit, consideration might be searching for a different flight, and decision might not happen until someone wants to confirm their booking, whereas a finance brand might still have a site visit as their awareness stage, but when it comes to consideration, that would look more like filling out a credit card application, and decision might be submitting the application. So it's going to look a little bit different no matter what vertical you're in. And before we dive into the verticals, we wanted to ask you guys which vertical is most relevant to you. So we'll run this poll and you guys will answer that question for us. We're going to go through 1 or 2 depending on which are most relevant to you, but we will share the webinar recording and the deck afterwards, so you guys will be able to see examples from all of the verticals I just mentioned. All right, so let me go ahead and run the poll. Go ahead, I'll give you guys a few seconds. Five more seconds. Okay, so it looks like travel and finance are the most relevant verticals for our audience, so we'll go through those 2. So, starting with travel. Before we dive into the actual examples, I just wanted to show you guys some of the trends that are happening in real time right now from our trend site. So in the travel vertical, some of the types of images that are doing really well right now are images without people, ones that are colorful, and images that are outdoors. And then one of the things that we didn't really touch on yet, you can also see different keywords that are working well in headlines on the trend site. And some of the keywords that are doing really well right now for the travel vertical are dangerous and unbelievable. So what it might look like for a campaign in real time, I'll show you guys an example funnel. So a travel brand might run something like this. This is an example from what I imagine to be an international airline. An awareness campaign might do something to just qualify people that are interested in flights in general or flight deals at the time. Unbelievable stories from flight deal chasers, whereas consideration would qualify them one step further, maybe looking for people that are actually searching for destinations in which to travel to. Something like 10 relaxing destinations with dangerous excursions if they're interested in that. And then finally, the decision stage of the funnel, book national flights from prices starting at $229. It's really direct, it's really clear, you're definitely qualifying people that are interested in purchasing a flight right away.
What was that? The second one was finance?
Yes, the next one's finance. Yeah, so let's dive into finance. And again, some of the trends here that we're seeing, colorful photography without animals is working now. And we actually see this in the education vertical as well. Animals never seem to do well when I check trends in the finance or the education vertical, so just something to keep in mind. And then the keywords that are performing well here, things right now, Medicare, pay, and seniors are top performers, but also things that made the top lists are things about avoiding costs, avoiding payments, and avoiding taxes. Not avoiding taxes, but lowering your payments on your taxes. So the example funnel here might look something like this. This is what I imagine a campaign being like for a US bank, targeted towards seniors. And awareness, something like seniors get your finances ready for retirement, just maybe qualifying people that are interested in taking a deeper dive into their finances. Whereas a consideration stage might move someone further down the funnel for a financing on their home, like experienced homeowners do this before paying your taxes. And then decision phase, refinance your mortgage with rates as low as 3%. You can kind of see how you're methodically moving people down the funnel here with different types of content. So those are the two verticals we'll go through with you guys today. And we'll just go share some takeaways.
Cool. So just to share takeaways, it's really important to know what your audience's mindset is. So get to know your audience in a lot of different ways, but also where they're coming from, where they're going, what they're expecting, because that's going to help you choose what kind of content you want to promote and what kind of ad you want to promote in order to lead your users to that content. You want to make sure to be genuine and authentic in your content. So telling personal stories like Megan was talking about, or using more like trustworthy designs is really important. You want to try to set your user expectations with the creative. So make sure that people know where they're going to arrive to. Using authentic details about your product, about your audience is going to help drive more engagement. And then, of course, rely on data, on Taboola Trends or on other tools that you might have to see how people are really behaving right now. So those are a few takeaways from today. Megan, do we have any questions?
We do have a couple, but I'd like to invite you guys right now to submit more. If you have any questions for us, we'll try to go through as many as we can. So actually a few people asked how exactly is the trend site working? So specifically, how can they find top keywords for different headlines? And then how do you recommend using the title analyzer?
Okay. Yeah, so what the trend site does, sorry, I didn't explain it maybe as in-depth as I should have. The way it works is it takes, obviously Taboola, we reach an enormous amount of people. We have, unimaginable amounts of clicks and conversions if we look at our data. So what we do is we take all of those clicks and all of those impressions and all those people, and we analyze everything every single Sunday. And And we look at all the images and we see which images had a people and which person in it, and which images did not have a person in it. And then we'll look at the CTR, the average CTR of each one of these groups, and we'll see which one is higher. So that will help tell us if images of people work better than images without people. But what we understood is that it's not that images of people are always working or images of people are not always working. The truth is that it really depends on which country we're in or which vertical we're in. And so because of that, we actually added filters to look only at specific verticals or countries, etc. So that's the way it works. The title predictive tool or the title analyzer, the question was, how does it work, or how do we recommend using it?
How do we recommend using it?
Okay, so the way we recommend using it is to use it to so a lot of advertisers would ask me afterwards, should we just test all of our variations on the title predictive tool and then use the top title in our campaign? So I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend testing a bunch. I would say 5, and then playing around with the tool a little bit. So trying to change a few words, add a few words, take off a few words, change the order, see what kind of things, or try to be a little bit more creative, try to put together a few new titles, and challenge yourself to come up with titles that might have an even higher predictive CTR. And after using the tool for a while or trying to play around with it, it's actually fun, so you guys will have fun. After doing that, I would look at the top 5 titles that had the highest predictive CTR and then test those in your campaign in a live environment. That's usually what I would recommend.
So someone also asked us if we think it's a good idea to run something like a blog article for a brand awareness campaign and retarget them with different types of decision content. I would say absolutely yes. We have many case studies from many different advertisers that we've seen perform really, really well with this, which you could find in the resources center of our website if you're interested in taking a look. But there have been many people that do things like run blog articles for brand awareness campaign, retarget those site visitors with maybe something like an ebook or anything behind a gated piece of content, or in some cases different product pages as well, and then retarget them again with even more decision ads after the fact and have seen great success. Just scanning here. Apologies for the delay. So finally, this is another good one. Have you ever seen content that you thought was non-authentic or non-genuine? I have like a truly hated example of this from my perspective. So I am targeted consistently with different types of shoe ads. I really like shoes. And the ads that show people that are just, on luxurious yachts or just doing really ridiculous things, flying across the world, just very like luxurious, crazy things that the majority of the population will probably never get to experience, trying to make me think like these shoes will change your lifestyle. I find it extremely inauthentic and extremely ingenuine and almost like offensive sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to see this ad. This is not for me. So that's one example that I've seen. I'm not going to name the brand or anything, but I definitely try to keep it real, people, especially when considering the audience that you're targeting.
Yeah, that's a good example. From the creative side, there are some inauthentic ads that I've seen. I think the best example is, you could go on Shutterstock and you can see there's this one person, a woman that has 1 million pictures on Shutterstock, and brands or companies that are just starting, they don't realize that she's like, everybody is using that same model, so they start using her in their pictures and their images, and people who are online, they start recognizing her, and they know that she has these like specific poses and smiles and expressions. And when you see that same exact person in all of the ads in a very staged environment, it feels very not real and not authentic. That's the creative example that pops in my mind when I think about that.
Yeah, ick. In my opinion, ick. So one other thing that I just wanted to touch on, this isn't a specific question, but it looks like many of you are asking if Trends has specific recommendations for your specific vertical, like telecom, technology, healthcare, food? The answer is yes. I think there's about 20 different verticals right now on trends. I'm not sure if you know the exact number, Rachel, off the top of your head. But I think
it's all the verticals. Like it's every vertical.
Yeah, so you guys can check it out, go filter there. There are recommendations for every vertical, many different countries and many different languages as well. All right, well, we're running out of time for today, but we want to thank you all very, very much for joining us, and we hope to see you in another webinar with us soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.